Alright, you tough guys, and welcome to the Action Channel. So today it's all about the king of Kung Fu, Bruce Lee himself. Alright, so we all know the stories about the man, the myth, the legend, the exceptionally fast speed, the fast punches, etc, etc. But how powerful was the man's kicks? Okay, so obviously this video is all about Bruce, but we'll also look into the possibility if he ever were to go up against a professional fighter, like a modern day MMA fighter, how would Bruce have done? Anyway fellas, if you like this kind of content, action, martial arts, you name it, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Anyway, Bruce, why don't you take over? Okay, so the man's film career in Hong Kong from 1970 to 1973 definitely turned him into a legend, no doubt about it. However, in this video, I'm not gonna focus too much on that part of his life, more like the 12 years he spent in America prior to that. So during this time frame, maybe he wasn't considered a true legend, at least not yet, but he was definitely very well respected and considered to be one of the best martial artists in the world. Now, martial arts in the West in the late 1950s and the 1960s was something new and very different. So one could ask the question, why did Bruce stand out the way he did? Was it because there really were not a whole lot of competition at that time? Or was he simply just exceptionally good? And he knew how to sell himself when the opportunities would arise. So the big question in this video, and I would love to hear your opinion, so please comment. Did Bruce Lee have the best sidekick that the world has ever seen? Now you guys may or may not like Steven Seagal, and if you don't, then of course you don't believe in anything that he says, even when dealing with martial arts. Even though the man is a 7th degree black belt in Aikido and have also studied so many other styles of martial arts. Now personally, I definitely consider him to be a 100% legit martial artist. And good old Steven says that Bruce Lee's sidekick was absolutely amazing and that nobody could do it the way he did it. Which I actually find pretty interesting. Because Steven Seagal is just like Michael Jai White, known for not holding back in regards to criticizing some fellow martial artists. But in regards to Bruce Lee, it seems like Seagal has all the respect for the man. Now again, Seagal is just one man's opinion, and since a lot of you guys are into martial arts, I would love to hear how you feel about Bruce Lee and his famous sidekick. Now I also brought up Michael Jai White since he believes that size definitely matters in a fight. And since Bruce Lee was only 135 pounds, so we could ask this question, if size really matters, then how dangerous could the man really be? I mean, 135 pounds as a fighter, that does not sound very impressive, right? So perhaps Bruce Lee had some other tricks up his sleeve. Let's see what he actually believed in. Bruce Lee's kicks were faster and more powerful than many of his contemporaries because he had spent many years training his body to be as efficient and powerful as possible. He believed that technique and timing were more important than raw strength, and he worked tirelessly to own his skills. Now when dealing with the man's famous sidekick, we can mention that he could execute it with incredible speed and power. He was also a master of the spinning back kick, which of course we have seen him use to devastating effect in many fight scenes throughout his movie career. Now I would say the era of Bruce Lee was a 15-year period from 1958 until his death in 1973. And during this time his kicks were considered exceptional compared to other martial artists of his time. He was known for his speed, power and precision, which made his kicks stand out. Bruce Lee was definitely a pioneer in martial arts, and he developed his own unique fighting style, Jeet Kune Do, which emphasized on speed, power and efficiency. So let's go back to the Michael Jai White thing. Did Bruce Lee really need more muscles to be able to compete with larger guys? Now perhaps the average martial artist that was around Bruce Lee's size would have been in trouble if he had to square off with a guy that was 50 to 80 pounds larger. Now there's no doubt that Bruce Lee was definitely one of a kind. However, I think it's also important to point out that the man was not a god. He was still a human being, and that means very human. The word perfection simply does not exist in the world of fighting, because there's always someone out there that potentially can be better than you. Now that being said, I'm certainly not trying to put Bruce Lee down in any way, shape or form. I'm simply saying that all the superfans in the world have turned Bruce Lee into something that's a lot more than a human being. And turning him into a superhuman I think is also a little dangerous, because here on the channel I always try to go for realism as much as possible and not get too carried away with emotions and exaggerated stories. Now that being said, it is a well-known fact that Bruce Lee had a huge punching bag in his backyard in Culver City in Los Angeles. Based on my research, it seemed like it weighed around 700 pounds. There are other people that said it only weighed 500 pounds and some said it weighed up to 1,000 pounds. However, I think we can all agree, whether it was 500 pounds or 1,000 pounds, it was heavy as hell. I mean, imagine Bruce Lee facing a 500-pound opponent. I would not want to be that punching bag. And at 500 pounds or even 200 pounds, there's no way you could be equally as fast as Bruce Lee. So, in this case, I would say speed also matters. Now, speaking of being faster than lightning, cinematographers from Bruce Lee's early films had to ask him to slow his kicks down because cameras at the time could not capture his movements. And apparently in Enter the Dragon, Bruce Lee's kicks were so fast that they had to refilm it in slow motion so that it wouldn't appear fake. Bruce Lee's kicks were also known for their versatility and adaptability. He studied a wide range of martial arts styles, including boxing, fencing, and Wing Chun, and incorporated elements of each into his own unique style. This allowed him to develop a wide range of techniques and strategies for using his kicks effectively in a variety of situations. Okay, so that was back in the day, but fast forward 60 years later, the question would be, are some of his kicks outdated or not? Well, overall, Bruce Lee's kicks were highly regarded at the time, and they continue to be studied and admired by other martial artists to this day. His focus on speed, efficiency, versatility, and power set him apart from other martial artists of his time, and helped establish him as a true legend in the world of martial arts. Now, Bruce also liked to play around a little bit, and he was actually inspired by Muhammad Ali and by some of his fighting, his moves, and behavior in the ring. In fact, he wanted to fight Muhammad Ali, but obviously it never happened. So what was Bruce Lee's favorite kick? Well, at least in the movies, it was the flying sidekick. We see it in a number of his films. And why? Well, probably because it looked pretty damn cool and awesome. Just like Van Damme 15 years later would also showcase some of his favorite kicks, which would be his famous helicopter kick. Now again, just like with Bruce, those kicks are very powerful and they look awesome on film. But the question, of course, are they efficient in a fight or not? I think we all know the answer. Not exactly. However, for pure cinematic reasons, why the hell not? Okay, so aside from Bruce's awesome sidekick, another interesting question would be, how well would Bruce Lee perform if he were to fight in MMA? Now, it's a little unfair question though, wouldn't you say? Because the Bruce that we knew from the 1960s and early 70s, is that the guy we should focus on? And having him fighting guys up today? I mean, reality is a lot of modern day MMA fighters have been so inspired by Bruce and learned so much from him and borrowed some of Bruce's techniques and taken them a step further. So that means that they would have to be much more advanced than most fighters were in the 60s and 70s, including Bruce. Wouldn't you say? I mean, that does make sense, right? We can also look at it in a more interesting way, which would be if Bruce Lee was 30 years old today, meaning that he was born in the 1990s, how would he perform today in 2024? Keep in mind, the man in my mind had all the talents in the world, hard work, work ethic, and he was simply unstoppable. So obviously the Bruce Lee of 2024 would have been much more dangerous than the Bruce Lee of, let's say, 1970. That is, if the modern day Bruce Lee would have gotten involved with MMA fighting early on. Again, we're never really gonna find out, so we have to speculate here, but I think the Bruce Lee of the 1960s and early 70s would have had his hands full if he were to fight a modern day MMA fighter. Mostly because Bruce Lee never fought professionally. He did not really believe in ranks. Yes, he did have some fights, including some street fights, but would that be enough to qualify him to fight in the MMA today? Now, this may make me a little unpopular, but I think the Bruce Lee of back in the day would be in trouble if he were to fight those guys today. However, like I said, the modern day version of Bruce Lee, meaning if he was born in the 1990s and fighting in the 2020s, that guy I think would be lethal and deadly as hell, and he probably would take down most of the competition. Now, Chuck Norris is the exact same age as Bruce Lee, born in 1940. And he has also said that he believes that if Bruce was still alive today, and if the two of them had been younger, they probably would both have done pretty well in the MMA. So that's also pretty interesting. And I agree. Now again, it's not really fair to compare different fighters from different eras, but you know how it is, we can't help doing it anyway. Let me know if you think Bruce Lee would have done very well today, both as the old original Bruce Lee that we knew and all his fighting skills, or like I said, if he had been born much later. Anyway guys, I thought it would be pretty interesting to ask a couple of these questions. Also, let me know what you think is Bruce Lee's best kick ever. And if you think he was the best, or at least one of the best kickers of his time, or ever. Anyway fellas, thanks for checking in and watching the whole video. Please like, subscribe to the channel, share the video and all that stuff. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day.